I'm talking about him.
Yo. Good evening. We'd like to call the Carroll County Board of Commissioners meeting for March 5th, 2019 at 6 p.m. to order. This time we're going to call Miss Susan Navy for roll call.
Chairman Charming Smith.
Here.
Vice Chairman George Chambers.
Here.
Commissioner Montrell McClendon.
Here.
Commissioner Clint Chance.
Here.
Commissioner Tommy Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Michelle Morgan. Here. Commissioner Lee Powers.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time we're going to call on Mr. Richard Harrison for our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, going to be led by Commissioner Clint Chance. Come on, big boy. Front and center.
First of all, I'd just like to take this time to tell you thank you. Thank you for what you've done for our county. Thank you for the friendship over the years. Thank you just for being a friend. Thank you for giving me the opportunity just to be here tonight. And I've been told not to preach, but so I won't get up here and preach. I won't stay long, but I just want to publicly tell you thank you.
Thank you.
Father, we love you, God. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. Lord, just thank you for being better to us than we deserve. And Father, we pray, God, tonight that you just keep your hand on this board, Lord, in the upcoming days, God, in the upcoming years. And Father, I thank you for Marty Smith, and God, and letting our paths cross. And God, thank you for what he's done for our county. Lord, thank you for what he's done for me personally in my life. And God, the friendship that you've joined together. And God, I pray that you will bless him, God, and whatever endeavors that he go to or go through from this point forward. And God, I pray that you'll be with this board and whatever steps that they need to take from this point forward. God, that you'll give them the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that they stand in need of. And God, most of all, God, that they'll take the time to seek you, Lord, before making decisions, God, whether great or small, Lord, that they'll seek your wisdom. God, especially handling our county business. And God, just small things that they think that just not even important, God, that they'll just take the time to call on you. And God, just seek your wisdom. God, I pray that you'll just go with this meeting throughout the rest of the night. God, I pray that they can all be in one mind and one accord. And Father, we just ask you just to forgive us when we fail. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If y'all don't think for one moment Big Papa couldn't have thrown a prayer out there, he could have. He is a pastor, does a lot of ministry work in our jail. And I have to say, the first time I met, I've known Big Papa on and off my whole life. But when I really got to know him in the early days in this back parking lot, I don't know if it was a employee issue, a Marty issue, whatever, but I was in my truck sitting over there. I was depressed. Things were not going well. And he came over and he said, "Boss man," he said, "you look like you could use a sermon." And I said, "I could, Big Papa." He said, "Phew," and he, no kidding, brought one out under his vest. I thought he was reaching for his gun, and he was just going to put me out of my misery. And he broke out a little mini sermon right here, and I'll never forget it. So if you ever need one, he carries one on his chest plate right there. And I appreciate what you do. Thank you. With that being said, we'll start with, I'll make the motion for approval of tonight's agenda. We're going to have an addition of item number 9.3, and that's to set the qualifying fees for 2019. So with that being said, we have a motion.
Make a motion. Second.
Got a second? Any discussion? Seeing none from the board, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. In front of you, under the same items, item number 6, approval of tonight's minutes. You've got the planning retreat meeting minutes from February 1st and 2nd for 2019. You also have item 6.2, commission meeting minutes of February 5th, 2019. Look for a pleasure from the board.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. Next, we'll move into the public comments. This will allow speakers to come forward and to approach the board, speak and state your name and address into the microphone. And we'll try assigning you. The board usually does not take action, but we'll assign you. If we've got anybody we can, we'll put forth to you. With that, we'll call on Teresa Leslie. Huh?
Hi, as you guys know, I'm Teresa Leslie, 488 Walker Road, Carrollton, Georgia, and I'm here as the president of the Carroll County Humane Society. I wanted to just real briefly speak to you this evening about a matter that's not before the board this evening, but that will hopefully be before the board next month, and I just want to bring it back to your awareness and make sure that that it keeps moving along safely, because I'm referring to the animal welfare ordinance proposal that will come up about changing the part of the county ordinances dealing with animal welfare. As you know, we've been talking about this for over a year now, and I was today seems like a perfect time to bring it up because while we have been long interested in improvements to the ordinances, as you know, a few years ago we got some minor changes and said we'd be back for more. And last year when we were working on more, there was that terrible cold spell with the ice and the snow, and lots of people got excited about animals suffering out in the cold. And so tonight it's going to be really cold. And there are animals in Carroll County who will be sleeping outdoors tied to a tree, which is still perfectly legal and is part of our ordinances. Now, the good news is the resolution that will come before you does propose that we make it illegal to tie a dog to a stationary object, so you can't tie him to a tree anymore. But this is part of the incremental change we've been asking for, because it doesn't say you can't leave them outside 24/7. In Douglas County, this isn't an issue when it gets really cold because you're not allowed to leave your animal outside tied up all the time. But they're ahead of the curve and we're behind, because all we're asking is that you say it can't be tied to a tree where it has limited motion, but it can be on a trolley system so it can move around more. It can be in a swivel in the ground. And so it's a step in the right direction, and we applaud that. It also will define adequate shelter. Right now that says your dog has to have a dog house, but it doesn't say anything about has to have a floor in that dog house so it's not on the bare ground. It doesn't say it has to be an adequate dog house. I mean, it's very vague, and so there's language that's being proposed that will actually say it has to have a floor, it has to have bedding, it has to actually protect that animal, and we're happy about that too. What we're still not crazy about, and we're hoping will magically appear in the resolution before you vote on it next month, is that part of this whole discussion began because of animals being left out in extreme weather. And the new proposal does not address that at all. There is nothing that says there are no conditions where a doghouse is adequate. And yes, there are times when a doghouse is adequate, but when it gets really, really cold or really, really hot, or there's a flood or a tornado, doghouse isn't isn't going to cut it. And so we had proposed that you say that you have to bring them into an indoor structure where the temperature can remain between 40 and 85 degrees. This is not, something really radical. It doesn't have to be inside your house. It can be inside a barn, a garage, a basement, but that's not currently in the proposal you'll see next month. I hope when you vote on this issue that it is in the proposal, and we'll be here to remind you that, these are companion animals, which means we are responsible for them as a community and as their owners. We have to take care of them because they can't do it by themselves. We can give them the tools, but they're animals and they need us, and our community should be protecting the least of these. So I just wanted to remind you that we're still out there and we're still watching, and we're still hoping that you will remember the animals, especially when it's really cold. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Met Lane.
Met Lane, 214 Habersham Place, Carrollton, Georgia. Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, I wish to thank all of you for your cooperation with the City of Carrollton. I cannot think of any contentious issues that we've ever had between the City of Carrollton and the Board of Commissioners since I've started on City Council. And I wish to offer a special thank you to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your service. I know that you've had to make difficult decisions that are sometimes not popular with the general public. I know that you made these decisions to further the best interests of our county, not your own. And I know that sometimes it's a lonely job being a county commission chairman. So again, thank you, and I wish you best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Appreciate you serving. That is all that's signed up on the public comments. We'll move into item 8 under the financial session. Y'all had those you look at. The highlights we want to point out, as always, is property tax collections are above last year, sign of a good economy. We're glad that money's moving again. If you'll look, it's up about $500,000 right now. Real estate and personal tax there. The one we're still tremendously happy for, and while we're in session, don't forget to see any of you legislators that the motor vehicle tax that they are still trying to get up into 70% due us, I think finally hit the 60%, but it's making almost a $600,000 impact because they did agree last year in session to up that percentage. So I'm proud that our local delegation is still continuing to work with us because it made about $1.1 million deficit to our revenue when they changed that tax. So we're slowly getting it back. Sales tax remains strong, over $1 million collected and lost. Lost and splossed were record months last month. So that's a good thing. But what we really want to brag on, because the employees are included, is definitely the expenses. 58% of the year has passed and expenses are running just over 56%. So we're still staying about 2% below what revenues are coming in on our expenses. That to me still shows that all personnel are buying into the system, and that's trying to keep expenditures down. We've proven as a board, when I brought it on board, to, as money that we find, we're going to give back to employees, that we've been able to do that. And that's they know if they save that they're part of the program that's going to get that allocation back. So commend HR again. Health insurance premiums are still holding on. We keep waiting for that midnight explosion, but I think with the 2-year wellness plan that's been put in place has been remarkable. Michelle, Vicki, some of those that really served on committees to get that in place. It's taken 2 years, but they assured us that we'd see some changes in that, and we have. So overall, the cash reserves are at a historic level. They're up about $3 million. The fund balance remains significantly up from this time last year. And I will encourage everyone to continue to watch expenditures. Be able to do that regardless of who's sitting here or whatever, is watching what's going out there. And the financial success over the last 6 years is the cooperation from the board as well as the employees and the elected officials. We don't want to leave them out because they are very instrumental in being a part of our budget and can do a lot with it, but they get along and they're always willing to come to the table and kind of work together on that. So that's kind of the highlights of today's budget. If there's any questions, Alicia's here. Hopefully y'all have gotten with her, but as you know, she's still taking over slowly and has done a remarkable job, and I commend you for what you've done. You've done a great job. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to thank the Finance Department. They had added what I had asked for the prior year budget amount on each line item. I also have been able to work with Ms. Cersei and Mr. Pilgrim on some questions that I had and looking at some actuals versus the budget amount, and that has helped me tremendously to be able to look through the financials, trying to govern as we need to do as a commission board. This is more in line with some other boards that I've served on now, the way the financials are presented. So I just wanted to thank the Finance Department for making accommodations to add that additional line item. It's really helping me to understand the financials and dig deeper where I need to, so thank you.
Absolutely. Clinton, I know being new, you're spending a lot of time up here And I'm glad, you're able to get the information you need. And tweaking these and getting the columns right in place is a big component of that. So thank you for bringing that and helping it to where we can understand it as well. All right, item 8.2, solid waste wheel loader. Consideration to purchase a CAT 926M wheel loader for the Carroll County Solid Waste Department. We'll call on Mr. Charles Pope and Mr. Gerald Pilgrim if needed.
Thank you, Chairman, Board. This is a loader that we had talked about at our work session, the 926M waste hauler. This tractor will be replacing a 12-year-old tractor that's got 32,000 hours on it. The price of this tractor is $188,301. Then we add the six-year, 6,000-hour powertrain warranty at $3,098, brings the total to $191,399. And that money will be paid out of the solid waste fund.
We'll look for a motion
I'll
from the
make a
board.
motion that we buy it.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Now any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. Moving into item 8.3, TEFRA resolution. We'll call on Ms. Stacy Blackman, County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a proposed TEFRA resolution as required by the IRS for tax-exempt financing. The Tanner Medical Center and the Hospital Authority are requesting your approval for a plan of financing for their electronic medical record system and related equipment for the medical centers in Carrollton and Villarica in an amount not to exceed $45 million. A TEFRA hearing was held and no one from the public showed up at that hearing, and this, you are not backing the financing here. It's not an endorsement of the creditworthiness or an obligation of the county.
Look for a motion from the board.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion for the attorney? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8.4, technology fees. We'll call on the other half, Mr. Avery Jackson.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman and Commissioners, Judge Johnson came before you at the work session on Thursday, and he asked the board for a resolution that would request our local delegation to seek from the General Assembly a local legislation allowing a technology fee for the magistrate court. That technology fee would be for all civil filings and would not exceed $10. There is a question as to whether the state law providing for magistrate court fees had preempted local legislation such as this, but that's going to be something for the Legislative Council's office to provide an opinion to the Georgia General Assembly on. But Judge Johnson has requested that you approve the resolution before you, asking our local delegation to bring the local legislation to allow that technology fee.
All right, look for another motion from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Now discussions.
From our operations director, Mr. Pilgrim, he feels comfortable with this moving forward. I know there was a few things discussed at the work session. I just want to make sure that everything is tied up if this moves forward, that we're good on our end for what we would need to provide.
This is, we would be coming before the board. Mr. Lee, the clerk of courts, would be coming before the board. We had one judge in the state court that thinks that state court has a lot more fees with DUIs and a few more other things. And so that kept us from asking for it for the other courts. I think as time goes by and we may come back before the board once this is established and ask for you to add that. I think Alan sees that as a benefit that we want to add to his courts eventually. But this would be able to generate some money that would be able to help Judge Johnson be able to improve his technology in his court and make it easier to serve for the public. So we think we would highly endorse it.
But the fees that he's going to be charging Gerald should cover most of it, right?
It'll cover most of all the capital purchases that he needs, yes.
So it's going to be very little out of the county's.
Correct.
Just a small interjection in that. I think probably his fees will cover quite a few things that he's wanting to do and probably upgrades to the system that he's going to need. From the clerk's perspective here, I'm not his clerk, but I would also offer, with the approval of you guys, the ability to pay for his case management from the same source that we're getting ours, which is copy money from documents we put up from the Clerk's Authority. Excuse me. Excuse me. So I think that will cover it as an ongoing thing, so it won't be a budget matter, I don't believe.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Judge Johnson did a great job of explaining the other day as well. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. Yeah, colorful. Next, we'll move into the business session. Item number 9. 9.1 is appointments to the library board. I think we've got 2 openings.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a nomination for Dr. Phyllis Snipes. She grew up in Mount Zion. She has taught at Carrollton High School, and she's currently working in the education department of the University of West Georgia, so I think she'd make an excellent addition to our library board. And I believe, Clint, you have someone too?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Mike McPherson. I had the privilege of actually serving on that board, and I resigned my seat when I won the election here. Not that that particular board, there was a specific conflict at that level, but I felt that it was appropriate to allow someone else to serve. Mr. McPherson has 2 master's degrees and 1 doctoral degree in education, very community-minded, lives in the northern end of the county that I reside at, and I believe he would make an excellent addition to the board as well. So I would like to make a motion for his consideration.
All right, we have 2 motions to put forth. Do we have a motion to make those motions?
Why don't I amend my motion to include both candidates, and you can.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion for both candidates and a second now. Now, any discussion?
Nominees.
And seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? And Mr. McPherson, we thank you for serving. He's actually here. I don't know if Ms. Snipes is not, but we appreciate you willing to serve. You've been active, wanting to get involved here. We'll point out Ms. Leslie as a councilwoman in Villa Rica, and thank you for your service in Villa Rica and all you do. Now you're putting him back to work. Thank you. Now, item 9.2. Appointment of interim chairman. Appointment of an interim chairman to exercise the powers and duties of the chairman beginning March 18th, 2019, and ending when the successor chairman takes office. And I will recuse myself due to the language within the charter.
I'll make a motion to nominate George Chambers as our interim chair.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to make a comment. Many of you don't know, I've known George for going on 30 years, probably longer than any of you. And I think George is definitely a man of integrity and someone that would be willing to do a good job. I do feel that the public needs to have our confidence that we're going to work as a team no matter who's in this position and show unity and the continuity of governments moving forward. And I just want to, out of good conscience, ask Commissioner Chambers to ensure that he can and is willing to spend the time that I feel is going to be necessary for the 3-month period.
Yes, Clinton, thank you for bringing that up. I've spoken with many of you as well as many of the public. I will tell you the backstory behind this. Most of you know that Miss Candy's my partner running the ranch. She's also my best friend. So if I get emotional, whatever, it is what it is. But she and I have spoken about this since the situation with Marty has come up. Most importantly, we've prayed about it. We've talked with Caleb and Taylor about it, and she is willing to make some changes in her schedule to take more of a managerial role at the ranch. Fortunately, the young man that had been working with me while he was in high school, and now that he's subsequently graduated, Jet Vice, has agreed to come on in a more full-time operations type situation so that he will allow me to devote whatever time is needed to continue the work of the chairman and this board, and to, as you spoke about continuity, allow that to take place until the election can take place and a new chairman can be in place. But thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to make that statement. Yes, thank you.
And I appreciate your explanation and support.
All right, we got a motion and second. Any other
Thank you all, Mr. Chairman. If you'll just allow me one quick thing.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the confidence of the board. I will make you all the same and only political promise I've ever made, was when I was elected, the first time. I will give you my very best. And that's all I can do, but that's what I will do.
Thank you, Commissioner Chambers. Now we'll move into item 9.3, set qualifying fees for 2019. We'll call on County Attorney Stacy Blackman.
Thank you. We have the qualifying fees that are required to be set for the chairman position of $2,725 and any district commissioner seats that become open for $223 for your approval.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, any discussions?
I think there was a question. It was $2,725 for the chairman seat.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody clarified?
Yes.
All right. Motion and second. Any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you, Stacy. Next, we'll move into the zoning sessions. We'll call on Ms. Janet Hyde, County Planner.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The first item that I have tonight has been withdrawn. I did want to announce it just for the public's benefit in case there's anyone here that wanted to speak on behalf or in opposition of this. It was a rezoning at Oak Mountain Road at Old Needham Road. Item 10.1 has been withdrawn. Item 10.2 is a rezoning at 512 Clem Lowell Road. This is consideration of owner applicant Richard Allen Turnbull's rezoning request from office institutional to R2 residential for the purpose of a residence. This is in land lot 161 of the 5th District, parcel 1360043. This is in Commission District 4. Staff has recommended approval of this application. Planning Commission also recommended approval. This is the old Clem Lowell Methodist Church, for those of you who may not know. Mr. Turnbull has purchased this property and is turning it into a residence, and is asking for rezoning from office institutional to residential, and the applicant is present.
All righty, we'll call them forward. While they're coming forward, we'll cover policies and procedures governing the conduct of zoning hearings. The applicant or anyone speaking in favor of the application request shall be allowed a total of 10 minutes to be present to present their request. Anyone opposed will be allowed those same 10 minutes. Anyone speaking for or against the application shall be allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal as well. So we'll start the time. Please introduce yourself.
I am Richard Turnbull,
Okay.
and owner with my wife Jane Simpson of the said church that we intend to turn into a residential property, a single residential property.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not going to run the clock down.
And that's fine. Is anyone here to speak in favor of it besides yourself?
I presume with my wife, but
No, if she would like to go on record and clarify that, if you'd like to, we can. All right, it's okay then. All right. If there's no one else, we'll close out those 10 minutes and we'll ask, under item 10.2, rezoning 512 Clem Lowell Road, is there anyone in opposition of this rezoning request? Ask a second time, item 10.2, is there anyone in opposition of this zoning request? Seeing none, we'll close out all minutes, rebuttal and all, and we'll look for a motion from the board.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Now any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you.
thank you.
The next item that I have is item 10.3, conditional use at 171 Lollybump Road. This is a consideration of owner Ronnie Music and applicant Verizon Wireless conditional use request for a cell phone tower. This is land lot 231 of the 11th District, parcel 049-0051. This is in Commission District 6. The applicant has met all the requirements of the conditional use ordinance for a cell phone tower. Staff had recommended approval of this. Planning Commission also recommended approval. And to speak on behalf of this is David Kirk, who is attorney for Verizon Wireless.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is David Kirk. I'm with the law firm of Troutman Sanders here representing Verizon Wireless. You have a very thorough staff report, so I won't rehash that. You've got a lot of documentation in your packet. I do want to say that what Verizon is trying to do is address both capacity and coverage issues in the southwestern part of the county. As Ms. Hyde said, we do meet all the standards in your ordinance. I believe that's why both the staff and the Planning Commission recommended approval. I'm here tonight simply to respectfully request that you accept their recommendations and approve this application. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have at the appropriate time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? Seeing none, we'll close out the 10 minutes. We're going to ask on item 10.3, conditional use for 171 Lollybump Road. Is there anyone in opposition? Second request, anyone for 171 Lollybump Road, conditional use. Is there anyone in opposition? If not, we're going to close out all minutes and rebuttal, and then we'll look for a motion from the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you very much. At this time, I have to take 2 seconds to close out to say it has been more than a pleasure to serve Carroll County. It's been the hardest job I've had, but by far the most gratifying. I don't think the good Lord put me in this path by chance. We've got a lot accomplished. I have to recognize my family that's here tonight because they came to my first meeting, and they're here for my last one, and they're still family. Not always, but I will say, when I came to them as a bold question in 2012 that I wanted to run, to the night before Mayfest, to hand them and get them to come up here and stand on a hot square to pass out sheets of paper, they looked at me like I was crazy. But I can assure you, no more. But I think the reason they showed up is because we're not going to have to do any more July 4th parades as a family in the heat representing. But it's been fun. I do want to say the immediate staff is impeccable, what we've got here. Susan, unwavering of what she's put up with. Multiple people that fill this chair she has. Family, sickness, trials, we've been through it all. And she never lets you down and always is here. And then Cece and Christy are just a good tag team to follow up because she needs some support. One of me and 3 women in that office has not always been easy. I'm glad I'm in touch with my feminine side. We have made it through, and it has been wonderful. And I also have to say, 15 department heads that buy in to what our goals are. It's what's made this county successful while I've been in this position and working with this board. They bought into saving money, watching what we spend, knowing that we'd be able to give back to them. I think we've done a 5%, a 4%, $1,000 bonus, $600 bonus, and at least a longevity. And I assure you there's money right now to do something this year. And I hope they carry out the plan that we agreed to somewhat as a board at the retreat. And I hope when I leave that the employees will respect really how much this board has come to work together for them. You carry out the services. Ben, Charles, all of you, y'all bought into the system of being a team. And I've told anybody, not a thing that I've done. There's no I in team. Old cliche, but we've lived by it and it's proven. I think the Board of Commissioners, y'all been unbelievable to work with. Don't lose what has taken years to build. Got some new ones on board that bring a lot of talent. I want to thank Kevin and John that are not here, Vicky that served. I had a guy in the office today who said, I don't know why y'all do this. It's like school teaching. You have to be passionate about it. I want to thank ACCG for their support, everything they do for this county as well. And the citizens for entrusting me. Michelle was with me the other day when we have a junior chamber here, and I spoke to about 30 young kids in this county that are going to take over. They're going to take care of us old folks one day. And I got to tell them my grade point average when I was in college. I wasn't proud of it one time. But I told them about a woman that kind of turned my life around when I was in college, Miss Naomi Satterfield. And I told them, if she knew that Marty Smith was sitting with control with a board, managing 650 employees and $50 million, she was my accounting professor, she would literally roll in her grave right now. And she may be. But I want to thank all the citizens for the entrustment. I came in as Marty, and I really feel like I'm leaving as Marty. Public service is hard, but it is very gratifying. And I ask the employees that we continue the motto that they helped form for us. It was built on integrity, respect, and accountability. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say thank you for your service. 6 years ago, we were crossing.
Putting up signs together at midnight.
Chairman, I want to thank you for what you've done for each and every one of us. When, especially, I know I've only been on the board a little over 2 years now, but when I got elected, you welcomed us with open arms. You was willing to sit there and explain what was happening, so we wouldn't look crazy up here when we came into the meeting. And I just want to thank you for all the support that you have given me personally. I want to thank you for all the support you've given this county and the employees, because our employees are our biggest assets. And I want to thank you for you protecting the employees of this county, and thank you for standing up for the employees of this county. Absolutely. Because the employees are the biggest asset of any company. And I just want to thank you, and you're going to be very, very missed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have a slight advantage. Marty lives across the street from me, so I know where to find him, and
That's
so
right.
It's not ending for you and I.
There you go. And I appreciate Michelle.
I've been at his house many times, Pam. You were asleep last time I was there. So Marty, when he says it's public service, it goes way past the 8 to 5 hours.
And you're always welcome as anybody. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, and me personally, let me say thank you for welcoming me with open arms, always being available whenever I need something to explain and need to understand some things. And just let me say to all of you, as we go through these training classes and we get a chance to listen to other commissioners talk about other counties, I want to tell you right now, we are extremely blessed. I think Clint would agree with me. We are extremely blessed, and we should be very thankful for what Marty has done for us. So thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And I mentioned this at my first official meeting only 2 months ago, that I appreciated being afforded the opportunity before I came on board to be able to meet with the department heads. And as you and I spoke, I just want to learn, continue to learn and give service to Carroll County. And so you allowed me to come in early before I even took office. And so I appreciate that opportunity to be able to work with the staff ahead of time. So thank you for allowing that, and thank you for your leadership. I hate we've only really been able to work together for 2 months, but I wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, Clint.
I'm gonna wait till last for a reason. This is why.
Well, I did tell everybody I'm not moving. I will be in Carroll County. I do live right across the street from Shell. I know where the farm's at. I know where every one of you live. I've got your contact information. My cell phone's not moving. I will start coaching from the sideline. With that being said, I want to end Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
Amen.
With that, we'll let you do your infamous.
I'm gonna pass. Somebody else take over for this one time.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Let's go get a beer. I can't.
We stand adjourned.